Well, good morning. This is our Millionaire Club mindset training today, and many of you will be watching this on YouTube today. But what this call is designed for, and there's a number of segments to it. Brent Palmer's actually doing one right now, currently too. We're going to merge together at some point, probably at the Dallas convention, and do one together. But what this training is for is to try to help anybody that wants to get to the really big money in the network marketing space. And in this space, $10,000 or $20,000 a month is not big money. It is nice money, especially when it's residual income. But our industry, especially this particular company with the license into 58 countries and the portfolio of 80 products, this is a chance to rewrite your whole financial future, to give yourself time freedom and a life of design, not chance. It just takes shifting some things in your mind. And, sometimes when you're taking on daunting tasks, it's hard to visualize the big picture. You kind of have to do the little bitty things that get to the daunting task. So that's what this particular YouTube video is going to cover today, is how to get your daily discipline routine down to create the life of your dreams, financial freedom. And we've got a gentleman with us this morning that I'm going to be interviewing in just a second, that did that for a number of years with me, and he's going to be able to tell you the other side of what that feels like now after he got disciplined with his time for a period of time, really against his own will. So the first thing a person has to do is just start creating a winning mindset. So many times when good opportunities meet us in life, we're not in the right headspace to accept them, much less take advantage of them. And they end up coming and going, and we never even really know they came into our life. So the first thing a person's got to do to create a winning mindset is I always say, sometimes subtraction gets people further than addition. So the first thing a person needs to do is try to start figuring out if this new home-based business is going to require some time. Start trying to figure out some things that clutter my mind, that drag me down, that make me have negative energy, that really take me off my game of being better. And start trying to, one at a time, subtract those things out of your life. And it's going to give you a chance to start building a residual income, and maybe get you out of your 9-to-5. And by the way, a 9-to-5 doesn't have to be an employee. There's a lot of small business owners that are like 6 to 10. They never turn off because they are their own business that does not run itself. So for really about 90% of us around the world that are seeing this for the first time, it's really our first chance to start creating a passive residual income and time freedom into our life. And the first thing that I love for people to do that decide to do this, and I encourage you to do this on this video, and that is write down some goals, write down some very near-term goals. What would making $500 extra this month look like at your house? And once you get that accomplished, what would an extra $5,000 a month look like at your house? Reece, if you don't mind, you're one of the newer people that are doing extremely well, but you're still part-time. So what was it like at your house when you started making initially an extra $5,000 a month, but now then sometimes 12, 15, 20,000 a month? What's that feel like at your house? What are you able to do? Uh-oh, don't have Reece. Is he able to unmute, Sarah?
Yes. Reece, your audio is not coming in.
We can come back to him.
I see him. He's talking, but I don't know that he might not hear us.
Just chime in if you ever get opened up, Reece, and I'll be quiet before we go to Chris. I got to go to Chris in like 4 minutes. All right, so we're going to write down our goals. I will tell you, as you write down your goals and start achieving some of them, that your real goals are not even going to be on your piece of paper initially, because most of us that are in our 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s have somewhat lost our ability to dream big. We may still think we dream. We may still want that nice car. We may still want the house paid off, or the new house, or the mountain house, or the house in Costa Rica, wherever it is that we want. But like the real belief in your soul will begin to reemerge of some great things you can have in life and really go enjoy life at its fullest. At any age, by the way, age is just mindset. But here's what I'm going to tell you, and this is what this call is about today. It's going to be about discipline over motivation. Because if I only worked Partner Co. or this home based business when I was motivated, I would not work most days. Most days, I would rather go to the beach. I would rather coach football. I'd rather go for a run. There's a million things sometimes I'd rather do than deal with a situation that we all deal with in business. So it's not motivation that makes the big earners do this. Maybe it was an initial motivation for better in life, but what you begin to have to do from there is develop in the discipline in the right areas it takes to build this business. And the last thing I will say, it's a little bit maybe too capitalized, but the reason it's so capitalized is once I start building in my discipline, the results of that discipline will be completely dependent upon my attitude. And the first thing I try to get people to understand in our industry is, especially if you're really smart or you're very analytical or you're very data or number driven, is that people will not join you on data. They're going to join your excitement, they're going to join your attitude, and they're going to join your story. So if you want to build a big business, do you need to know all the information? Yes. You guys all know that I've learned all this nutrition stuff. I always tell people I've got my master's in nutrition, and I do. But I didn't learn anything about the drops or Vanali or any of that stuff in school 30 years ago. As a matter of fact, half the science that exists today didn't exist 30 years ago. I'm a student daily of videos, of listening to the doctors, of going back and re-listening, of reading the newest research out there. So like we all got to do that. Like I don't ever minimize not understanding this. I understand the comp plan as good as anybody in the company. I can explain the comp plan. I know how to maximize the comp plan, but that's not what gets people started. Like when you hear me present, it's not going to be about the straight details of how a product's working in the thyroid, or it's not going to be about exactly how the comp plan works in all 9 different ways we get paid. It's going to be a story, and it's going to be excitement. It's going to be about their future, and it's going to be, are you somebody they want to follow? And I'll end with this as we move now into our guest. But if you were you following you, would you follow you every day? Because I have people, I wish I could call their name, that are so freaking good at this on some days. Like they blow me away with their presentation skills, their energy, their excitement, they're magnetic. And then on other days, they absolutely repel me. Like I don't want to even be on a Zoom with them. All they're doing is complaining and bitching and whining and talking about all the negative things going on in their business and in their life. So like the question is your attitude and your energy and your excitement something that people want to be around? Because remember, people are coming to us for an escape. That's why we're all here. Like if everything was perfect in our normal lives, we probably would not have brought something additional into it. We were all looking for better physical health, better financial situations in our life. And it all begins each morning with your daily intentions on everything that I just said. I'm going to come back into the pay plan after Chris. I'm going to mention where the discipline needs to go, and then Chris and I are going to walk you through it. So,
And we also have Reece back now as well.
yeah, so Reece, I'd love for you. Let me see my time frame. Yeah, you've only got 2 minutes. I've got to start Chris at exactly 11:15.
Gotcha.
But would you share real quick what the initial money made it difference it made at your house, and then now that you're making real money, what kind of difference it make at your house? Still part time.
Oh yeah. Well, so the initial money for us just changed. One, it changed my mindset of that I would never be able to retire. I saw possibilities. It changed us living paycheck to paycheck. It allowed us to pay off debt that we had. And then now that we're making 2 to 3 times what our full-time jobs pull in, it's changing our, totally what our outlook is in retirement, totally what our outlook is and what, I've always been one, and I'll be real quick, but I've always been one that's always been taught, always knew that it was trading time for money. Like that's what you do. That's how you make money. You go to work, you get a paycheck, you come home. But now living the way, being able to live in that get up, make your choice of how you want to do it. You're getting paid, and you're not trading time for money. You work your butt off, but then that because you worked your butt off, that residual stays in there, and you can take a breath. And if you want to go take a day, you can go take a day, or whatever it is. You don't miss that. That's the biggest thing for us, is being able to see the freedom that you get from the financial side, but it's mainly time freedom that the financial side gives you.
Yeah. So here is where like the discipline is, not the motivation. There's only one thing that makes our business move forward, and that is exposure of this business or of a product to the next new person. So these are some ways to do it. You don't have to do them all. It's up to you what you do. But in my opinion, shaking somebody's hand and looking them in the eye, no matter how AI technology driven the society becomes, nothing ever replaces building trust and integrity with somebody more than an in-person meeting. So if I can possibly do that, that's always going to be my first choice. And for the right people, I'll even hop on an airplane and fly somewhere to meet them for the first time, because I know the chances of the success will be greater. But you can also do, if you visualize that coffee shop or two-on-one, a two-on-one meaning you're helping someone who set the appointment. A Zoom is the same thing, can be done one-on-one or two-on-one, meaning you're helping somebody present. A living room doesn't have to be 50 people. It could be 2 people at a kitchen table. It could be any number of ways. And then a 3-way call is when you're bringing in some expertise help to help you share product and or business with somebody. So the discipline is, we all that are watching this video or here live today, we are all the builders. So we, for the most part, have more information, more excitement, better attitudes, and have better presentation skills than most new people. So our job is to help them share this opportunity with the next person. And I always tell a person that if you are serious about this business, building a part-time income, that you need to be a part of 5 of these a week. It could actually be 5 individuals in one living room that were new, and that would be your 5 exposures for the week. If I am trying like Reece now to go from part-time to full-time, then, and Reece has been doing exactly this. In the beginning, he probably struggled to get his 5 a day because his team wasn't even big enough to help put that together. You can't do that if you have no team. But as times went on, he's now navigating time at his job, time here, to move that now to 5 per day that he's a part of. Zoom into Australia in the morning, Zoom into Canada, live meeting in Alabama with Dr. Roger, then back on driving down the road on a Zoom with somebody else in a different area. So it's a combination of these things going on nonstop. And I'm going to unshare my screen real quick. And if you don't mind highlighting Chris Dole up, Sarah. Chris, you're on the retirement side of network marketing now. You draw a multiple 6-figure income. You don't have to work very much. You're still available. You still do talk on the phone. You come into trainings. You're doing this for me today. But Chris, you and I met almost 20 years ago. And at that time you had
22.
22 years ago.
Time flies.
At that time, I was a broke football coach, and you had been a multi-millionaire businessman with 430 employees, but you had lost it to the NAFTA agreement to Mexico. And when I met you, you were in your mid-40s, and probably to say you were down on life would be an understatement. You had really not a lot of options going for you at that point.
That would definitely be an understatement. Yes, I had lost a big company with over 400 employees and lived a different lifestyle. And I think that was probably an advantage for me early on, Todd, because my mindset was I could do well. I didn't really expect this industry to be what I was looking for. I'll be the first to admit that. I didn't know a lot about network marketing, to be honest, but it absolutely changed my life. And what I didn't know, as I said, you never know what you don't know. And I didn't know what this industry could do for me. But the thing that you just said about commitment, I will tell you what I did. I mean, it's simple as that. I was desperate. I wrote down my goals. Simple. I wrote down what I wanted to accomplish. And I laugh because it's hard. This is a call for people that have been successful. So my original goal was $40,000 a month. That's what I set my goal to make. And I mean, I hate to say it that way because that wasn't a lot of money, because I'd made way more than that before. But that was my first thing. I want to make $40,000 a month. And, but it was not easy. So it took time. But I really believe the commitment and what the things you talked about 5 times a day, every night before I went to bed. And I would encourage you. Back then, I didn't have all these technology. We didn't have all these notebooks and all these things you could write your calendar out in. But I took it strictly. I mean, I still use them. It's an old-fashioned legal pad. But before I went to bed every night, I wrote my list for the next day. Hey, I got stacks of them. I buy them by the package. I buy 20 at a time. But my reason at night was I wrote down what I was going to do the next day. And somebody said, why do you always do it the night before? Because the night before I was energized. I was ready to do the next day. And I didn't make the list small. So I'd make a big list. And when I started the next day, and by the way, it wasn't check my back office. That wasn't look up. It was how many presentations, because I was told presentations lead to success. So I set a goal and I wrote down names, people I was going to call, people I was going to read. And every night before I went to bed, I did it. And the next day, I took a highlighter, and as I checked off every one of those things I wrote on my list, I'm not going to tell you I completed the list every time. I'm going to tell you I didn't go to bed without trying to complete the list every day. And so I would always, here's the thing though, what wasn't done that day was put on the list for the next day. And so I just continued that till we got where we wanted to be. Simple as that.
So Chris, I just took one of your tricks in the book and used it, and it worked equally as well for me. And that is, a lot of times people see real success and they don't realize what the real success took to happen. They don't understand the little bitty things. So just recently, Carmen had a really big leader in Las Vegas, and the Zoom just wasn't getting him. So I borrowed one of your old tricks, and I said, I'm going to be in Las Vegas next week. Anyway, would you happen to have time to meet? So let's go back to that day, Chris. I remember it well, that you had been struggling. You were not meeting your goals here. You felt like quitting. There were a lot of people in your business, in my business at the time, that were making way more money than you. And some of them didn't last long, but they shot high. But I remember it like it was yesterday, is that there was this one particular gentleman you were trying to get in Canton, Mississippi, which is Jackson, Mississippi, central Mississippi, for those that don't know. Chris lives about 7 hours from there. And his name was Jerry Wilson. He had been a laundry guy to you, and his connection to some football coaches down there. And Jerry says to you, after you've been trying to recruit him for 2 years and he'd been a solid no, he says one day, I might have interest in that business. And you said back to him, well, I was going to be in Jackson, Mississippi tomorrow anyway. You got time to meet. And you had no intentions in being there. So let's hear what happened to your income after that little bit of sacrifice.
What you said about Jerry was, he just said, next time you pass through here. That was the way the words he used. And I said, yeah, I'm passing through there tomorrow. I actually didn't call until I was about an hour outside of town. Took my chance. So, and people say that's crazy. Maybe it was, but I knew that I needed fresh blood in my business. If your business is not going like you want it to, you need new people. I mean, simple as that. People, you can't drag people. I told a mentor of mine and Todd's both used to tell me you can't push a rope. So if your business is not where it needs to be, you got to find somebody that wants it like you want it. And so, yeah, I just drove to Canton, Mississippi the next day, called him an hour before I arrived in town, and he agreed to meet with me. And by the way, I had shown him the business over a year before, but things changed. So never burn a bridge with somebody, because you never know when something's going to come back. So yeah, my business went from struggling to make ends meet. And Todd's laughed at me many times because I'd made a few $1,000s a month and I was paying the expenses, but I certainly was not making enough money to make what I wanted to here. And my paychecks jumped dramatically, as Todd knows. I went to over $20,000 a month. And I guess we can talk money here. I don't know if that's against the rules, but that's what happened. And I never looked back. But I will tell you, when Todd said I was wanting to quit, I had actually made up my mind I couldn't do this. I thought it was somebody else could do it. And if you haven't thought that, you will. That's just the way it works. That's just life. I mean, you're going to have times when you get frustrated and you think, this is not for me. I can't do it. And for those who jump out and blow it up, what Todd mentioned was some of those people that were actually on my team that were making more money than me, they didn't continue because, see, when things got tough, they didn't keep going. And business, and I had learned that business has ups and downs, good days, bad days. And that's just way real business works, good and bad months. I mean, Reece will tell you that about the seafood business. I mean, I assure you, his company doesn't have all great months, they have up and down. Well, the same thing in network marketing, same thing with this industry. You're going to have better months than other months, but I had all bad months. So I'd had 2 years of only bad months, basically paying ends meet, and then I hit the right people. Todd said one time, he said,
you were prepared.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Those first 2 years were getting me prepped for what was coming. And I had all the disappointments, but was working with the wrong people. And then when I hit the right group that wanted it like I wanted it and had some experience, what happened was very simple. My business began to explode. But what was also important was the experience I'd had for 2 years of developing was also ready. And I was ready for those leaders at that time. And I had lots of people join my team. And you know what's crazy is, as good as that was, it wasn't as good as what came a few years later, because we got some more good people. So
I was just getting ready to show that, Chris. So in the pay plan that we're currently working under, I'm just going to use this as an example. It was a different pay plan then, but basically when Jerry Wilson entered your business, you got an optimized position. You had 2 legs doing 13,334 weekly. You were making 2,000 in base pay, a $500 bonus, 300 in your savings, and you were getting matching checks. So you were plus 300,000 a year. So then, just like all of us, you have to start building a third leg. And that's when you literally had a guy at your house taking pictures from a little bitty town named Liberty, Kentucky. He actually lived behind the dump in this town in a trailer. And this guy named Tim Howard joined your business. I think he just joined your business here too. So congratulations on that. But tell us what happened when Tim entered on that third leg.
You know, Todd, it's kind of crazy, because I never would, and I think this is probably so true, that you never expect the person. I would have never picked him out of a line and thought this was the guy that was going to change my business even more so than that first person. But I did go to help him, like you said. You'd always taught me, and then go see him, go there. We didn't have Zoom back then, so there really wasn't much choice. So I went up there, and you know, and honestly, that group, him and his team, took me to, as you already know, you said a third line. Actually, the way our comp plan works, it was probably a total of about 5 lines I was optimizing at that point from a pay plan standpoint.
That took you to about 100,000. By the way, income disclosure, we've always got to put that out there. You know, this is a business call. We're talking about money. But this is a business. We're not a placement employment, and incomes do vary. And the success we're talking about is not typical. So, but Chris, you did go on to 100,000 a month in that time frame.
That's correct. And I don't ever want to say that anybody else can. No, everybody can't do that if they don't do the effort. I think anybody can do it. I don't think most people have the discipline. I love what you talked about in the beginning, is how the discipline makes all the difference, because I'm not special, guys. I didn't graduate college. I didn't even go to college. So it's not about who's smartest. It's about who's more disciplined. I used to make the joke, because my daughter, being a trainer and owning a gym, it was a very good example. I don't have the discipline to exercise. I mean, guys, if you saw me, I saw a picture that I got yesterday. Somebody sent me a picture. I weighed up 318 pounds. So I certainly didn't have any food discipline. What I will tell you is business discipline is what I did have, because I enjoyed what having financial freedom meant to me. So the discipline for an income stream was everything to me. And I had that from the very beginning. So we hit that group, and long and short of it was, it took me into areas I never would have dreamed. But it also cut back to what you also said, Todd. I was prepared for it. I mean, I was really prepared for it now, because I'd already went through another group. So absolutely, it made all the difference in the world. So habit preparation. So
Chris, one thing you did highly effectively, we've talked about this already on a previous video, but that is the tap rooting through people. Like, it wasn't like we talk about Jerry Wilson. You drove to Jackson, Mississippi for him because you knew his potential. But Jerry actually only led you to one person. I think he led you like 7. You signed up one, but only one of those people worked, and Jerry never worked again. So it wasn't even Jerry that exploded your business.
That's absolutely correct. And that is that you call it tap rooting, and I call it following the leader. You just go down. If you want to build a business, you build a relationship with everybody that joins your team. I don't care if they're on your 2nd level or your 72nd level. Especially in this comp plan. Now, the one we were in, that particular comp plan, man, if we'd had this comp plan with that business, I don't know what my income would have been. You would yours too. But the thing is that you've got to develop the relationships. I mean, that's the key word. And in my business, in that company, over the years, I think I probably recruited 75 people, 80 people total, but only about 5 of them ever really helped me build a business. But it was the people that they brought in. As you mentioned, Jerry brought in 7 people in the first few days. None of them did anything but the one. And that one led me to, I don't know, 20,000 people, something like that. And then Tim was but Tim did go work. So he's the guy that, but he joined my team, and he did go to work. But I'm convinced, and I don't mean it bad against him, but without me having the experience, I don't believe Tim could have made the success he would have had without me.
No, it's a guarantee, Chris. Listen, there's only one thing I can guarantee here, that when you see a brand new person having a lot of success, they're attached to somebody that's working with them every day that knows exactly how to do this. Yeah. It's not going to happen accidentally. Nobody's going to enter your business and make you rich. Don't That day ain't coming in this industry. It takes talent, energy, stamina, discipline, positive attitude. And until you have that to plug into, it's just almost impossible for somebody to enter this with life already going on and be that on day one for everybody.
I see it all the time where someone else quit and someone on their team goes out and blows up and they have no idea that their business even blown up. I could look at it and I'm like, y'all quit before y'all reaped any benefits because you just, everybody wants it to happen overnight. I've said this many times when I compare it to the gym work. If I could go to the gym every day for a week and work out 2 hours and be in shape at the end of that 7 days, then I'd go do it. But guess what? I'm not done that. But with business, I'm going to be as consistent as it takes, as long as it takes till I get where I'm going. It's not a matter of how long I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it till the job's done. Simple as that. There's not a time frame, and everybody's business will explode at different times. I'm actually scared for people whose businesses explode so quickly because they haven't met any hard times. I think that may have helped me because I struggled. Then when it got good, when I had bad times, it didn't freak me out. So that's really it, Todd. I mean, it's not a magic here. It's discipline and time. But you got to put the IPAs in. I see people all the time doing things. They think they're working their business, but working your business is not just listening in. It's sharing the business with other people. And if you're not doing that consistently, it makes no difference what else you do. You can learn everything there. You can know. I don't know much about grapeseed extract. As you know, I don't know much about the drops, even though I've dropped 100 pounds and kept it off. I don't care. I know the products are amazing. I'll let somebody else explain that. What I do know is this business has changed my life. This industry, this company has changed my life. My health. When Todd will tell you, I was a walking time bomb on health-wise, terrible. But let me tell you guys something, and I'm going to finish because I just got to go get some blood work checked. Guys, when you get into a residual income that pays you, whether you're working or not, for those that don't know, last year, I've been diagnosed with cancer over 3 years ago. Okay. And I had to have treatments. I was sick. I was bad sick. But what was amazing was this system of growth had just come out right before that. And my income increased, and I'm literally not doing a whole lot. As Todd knows, I couldn't even hardly take phone calls so much. But my business continued to grow. And that helped to be on a great team, the people working together. But it was more about the system and the people wanting to work below me. And if you will work the system and teach people to do it, and don't worry about when somebody quits, that's where the biggest problem is. People, they quit. Okay, so did you quit? It's the question, not about whether or not what they do. I always learned about business. I don't worry about what somebody else does. I worry about what I do. So that's really consistency and time. And that's it. And most people can't do that. I'm sad, but it's the truth.
So Chris, last question for you. I'll let you go. You are at retirement age now. You're now drawing retirement you're drawing your Social Security. Like you and Judy are officially old, I guess, by number, not by the way you act. But how much difference does this residual income make in your retirement if you were just having to live without it? And then also remind everybody that you went bankrupt at almost 50. So you built back from 50 forward.
Yeah, Todd, I wasn't just barely bankrupt. We were lost about almost $10 million, and I was $600,000 in debt when I started in the industry. So I refused to file personal bankruptcy. My company filed. So what did it mean to me? Honestly, I could tell you so many things. One, it gave me back my belief and dreams again, because I could dream. That was probably the biggest thing, is anything I felt like I had a chance. But you asked me what difference does it make? Guys, Todd, you see all these people traveling around. I mean, I can travel on vacation. I hate to, sounds like I'm bragging. My granddaughter turned 17 today, Todd. Corbeth turned 17 today, and I talked to her this morning, and she said, "Pop, I gave her a car for her 16th birthday. I gave her a Mercedes. So what does this business mean? I'm bankrupt. Only 10, basically when I started 20 years ago in this industry, and for my granddaughter's 16th birthday, I gave her a Mercedes. I don't know. Does that make me feel good or better than somebody else? No, it made me feel proud that she knows her pop's willing to take care of her. And next Sunday, we're taking her and all my other grandchildren. We rented a beach house at Miramar right there, right the road from you. We're coming and taking everybody to the beach for 8 days. Well, we can afford to do that. As a matter of fact, I even went to the trouble of renting an SUV so everybody could ride together. I didn't want everybody to be in separate cars. I couldn't do that on just getting by. So the thing is that we can do what we want to do. We're not rich. by what some people will say we are, but I feel like I'm rich because I got time. That's the part that most people never understand is I'm getting paid with time. So no matter what happens on Friday, we get a paycheck. And
I
it's
did
a
have
good
one more question, Chris, that hit
Yeah.
me because I've seen the whole movie with you. Like there were some people that thought, family members that thought you were probably crazy when you were working so hard at this business. And now there's probably some of the same people thinking like, how does Chris have a houseboat at the Tennessee River and not have to work? And season tickets to the malls.
we're lucky that we can do the things we're blessed, I should say. We've been blessed that we can do anything that we want to do financially. I'll say anything. I mean, I can't go buy a $30 million yacht, but I got a pretty nice boat and we spend some time on it. And that's where we're going tomorrow. So we'll leave tomorrow and go to the boat for 3 days or 4 days for Father's Day, and they'll come down. So that's really what it comes down to is time freedom. Everything comes back to me but lots of people have time freedom if they retire, they ain't got any money to do anything. I mean, I got lots of friends, but you mentioned my family. It's hard to explain what people would say. My family was more supportive. I don't think they were too bad on me because I'd made money and they were all broke. I always said I was maybe a has-been, but they were never beens. So in my case, I was still trying to make it back. But here's the thing. What we've learned is that they all believe in it now. They don't think they can do it, which is fine with me. But my niece, Carla, and then Kristen is a perfect example. My daughter's now, I looked at her income the other day and how much she'd made with the company. I'm like, Kristen, do you realize how much money you've made on your little side gig? Because she loves her gym and what she does. But her little side gig pays her, she had 6-figure income last year as a part-time person. And her lifetime
Without
earnings.
any debt attached to it. That's my favorite story from her. She steals money on the gym.
Hey, not only that, the funny part about it all is that we don't know with all the retail, that girl without this new SOG system, the retail sales, man, there's a lot of money she's collecting on that. People stopping by and buying, just buying product. But I think, and that I'm so thankful that she's decided to do it because I knew that she was going to work herself to death with a business ownership because that's where I've been. And we're a business owner. The difference is in her business, she spent $400,000, or I don't know the exact figure, but she bought a building, she had to buy equipment, and she still makes payments on that company. Here, I mean, if you do anything at all, your business is paid for the first day. And if you don't do anything at all, you lost enough that you can't even carry your kid to Chick-fil-A. That's the best way to describe it. My Judy just waved at me there. She's taking Caroline to Chick-fil-A right now. Well, they'll go spend $30 at Chick-fil-A. That's where you can start a business here. But it doesn't do any good to start. No difference in me in the gym. I got a membership at Kristens Gym, but it didn't make me go in shape. I don't know the color of the carpet. But what I do know is this. If I work this business consistently, but everybody tells you, Todd, they want freedom and they want the money. What they don't want is the effort. And I'm pretty blunt about that. I mean, I don't mean to be so rude, but it's like everybody wants to be where you don't have to work. But most people don't want to go through the effort it takes to do it. And it's like, you're lucky. I mean, if I've heard that one time, I had a broke brother-in-law that used to tell me all the time, you're just so lucky. You got in the blue jean business at the right time. Well, then I got with that other company. You got in that company at the right time. No, I did the effort and I stayed consistent. And when it got hard, I didn't stop. I just kept going until it got where I wanted to be. What I will tell you is this, most people will look for an excuse to quit and they're the wrong reasons to quit. They forgot why they started. And every time I wanted to quit, I remembered looking back at why I started. And I kept I know it's old fashioned. I kept a 3x5 index card. I had 5 of them written down with my goals of why I wanted to do this. One was on my sun visor and one was I had it everywhere. Where I shaved every morning, my suitcase when I was traveling, I wanted to make sure I didn't forget what I was after. And end result is, it's pretty good to be over here where I don't make as much money as some folks in this business. But I don't have to get up. I don't have an alarm clock, and I don't have anybody tell me when I can take vacation and when I don't. But that's been the best way to describe it. It gives you life of freedom. And by the way, I have to go. Todd, thank you for having me. I love to be back anytime. I love talking to people who are looking to make something special. And that's what we have. This group is about that. I knew that.
Thank you, Chris. Who do you have lined up for this Saturday's training?
Oh, we got a big one this Saturday. We got Kristen and gosh, I'm drawing blank. What's the lady's name? It's over the products.
Barbara.
Barbara, man, my brain to see.
Barbara Cox Lovesley.
Yeah. They're going to do product training on Saturday, just product. all about the things we use and why and the breakdowns. And they'll obviously the drops will be one of the topics. I'm sure you know Advantage has been one of Kristen's favorite products. She's absolutely blown away with the results, but she loves all of the products. So they're going to go through a product training and answer questions, be available to do that. And obviously they're not going to make any health claims, but they're certainly going to do those things. So it'll be a good one this Saturday.
I'm glad you got to go. That way Kristen can talk about you for just a second. So Kristen, could you close your dad up real quick? Because you witnessed that from basically your senior year of high school through college to owning your gym. You saw the whole journey, the good, the bad, and the indifferent. And now the result. What did it look like from a child standpoint? And we don't have you, Kristen.
Oh, there.
There we go.
Okay, can you hear me now? Sorry, you're my
Yep.
AirPods and they're not super clear. Can you hear me now?
We got you.
Okay, yeah. So obviously, I grew up with maybe three different lifestyles. I was the little girl in the blue jean industry, and I guess people would say I was spoiled. He made millions of dollars, and then one day that business was no longer, and we went from making millions of dollars to being flat broke, as he said. Watch my mom pick up the pieces at that point, and then he found this industry. It was a pretty bad day at my house because my mom did not want to loan him the money for that. But 2 years later, he was rocking it.
So
And
your mom gave your dad the money to join that company from her
yes,
haircut and stash?
yes. I think she was selling jewelry at the time, having to sell her Rolexes and her diamonds. So she was not happy to give money to a business she didn't think was going to work. It was pretty, the fights were pretty intense when it came to finances at that time in my life. I remember I got my first job at 15 because money was so tight. I went every day after school. Money was a bad subject at my house at that time. But my junior year, he'd been in the business 2 years and things flipped a switch. And obviously I didn't know all of the things that was going on in Mississippi. I just knew something was changing. His dad was making money again. He got to buy a new car. Mom was happy again, and life was good. And then obviously my college got paid for. I went to a private school and things were like how I remembered. But I have to say, watching the discipline, I hope I don't get emotional because it's my dad, and he was always such a hard worker. But I really admire the perseverance because it was a really hard time being little and watching it. And when I hear him talk and I think about all of it when I was little and growing up, it took me so long to want to work the industry because he was gone a lot. And I knew it worked. I knew he made a lot of money. I knew this business and company and the design really worked. I knew people made money and you could get the time freedom because he eventually got it. It was just so much on the road. And then the system of growth happened, y'all. And I knew I didn't have to do it like he did. And I get to work this business from home, and I get to go to the soccer field and do what he did, but I get to do it on my phone and I get to do it in Zoom. And I'm going to make the money he made, but I don't have to go to Mississippi every day. I get to do it at the soccer field. And if I want to start traveling when she gets a little bigger, I can then do that. But like he said, I made 6 figures. And again, I think money claims are a little okay. Last year, it's more money than I made in my gym. And I worked it all on this cell phone that I'm looking at you with. And to me, that was the hugest life freedom I gained because I 2 years ago couldn't fix my garage and I couldn't pay for a washing machine just because it was extra money and I was trying to pour it into other things. And then you build a team and you see your other friends doing the same thing. And this is such a feel-good business. So, and it's not like his story is any different than any of ours. Mine's no different than anybody's on here. It's just you get to replicate it and help everybody else.
So Kristen, you actually brought us up to the last slide perfectly. You probably didn't even know it, but life has really changed for all of us over the last 20 years with technology, not just the network marketing industry, but every industry has changed. And for those people that are willing to keep learning and keep adapting, most of the time technology makes things more simple. So that brings us now as we end today, because remember, we've heard some heart-touching stories, but this whole thing's about having the right mindset, setting your goals, and then not relying on motivation daily, relying on your discipline daily to go do the routine. And I'm just going to remind you the routine is, if I'm part-time, I have to be a part of 5 exposures a day. I'm sorry, 5 exposures a week to new people, whether that be somebody I'm personally presenting to, or whether that be somebody in a pay line that has set up a 2-on-1 for me to help on a Zoom, a 3-way, a living room, a coffee shop, whatever that might be. And then if I want to move from part-time into full-time, this is not in a day, it naturally happens, but you just start doing more and more. And I'll just tell you my goal every day, from not from a motivation standpoint. Remember, if I'm wanting to rely on motivation, I take off most days at this point. But if I'm relying on discipline, my job in the morning before I go to bed that night is to get 5 new exposures in. And there's other things a part of that now, answering questions, returning text, phone calls, messenger, WhatsApp, everything that flies in today's world. That's the downside, I guess, of technology. But then the last piece of the puzzle is, and that is, the better you train your team and the more you help them early on the correct way, the better chances you have of a great business. I will say that a lot of times, the people that enter our business that really are magnetically good at this, that have what I call the pixie dust, they sometimes do not have very good duplicating businesses because they're able to get away with things that others can't. So I'm one of those people. I can do a presentation in my sleep, but I have to have a way when I leave somewhere that they can present without me being there, or it's just all relying on me to come back. So I'm constantly in motion trying to figure that out myself. It's not like we have every answer to every question all the time, but I will tell you that when you start a new person, if you will take the time and download boards, help them learn how to use it, help them make their first couple of posts, help them get into a boosting group, like help them individually do this. Do not expect it to happen on its own. Get them a way. I try my best, especially the ones that have iPhones, to airdrop over whatever presentation they've seen me use with their team. Get it on their devices immediately so they can start duplicating it. If you can make your own or make them for your own team, do that. I've watched Christy Walsh and others do that on their teams when I travel now. They saw me doing it. And now when I go up there, they're doing the exact same thing, getting their new people on their slideshow so they can brag them in the meeting. As a matter of fact, if you'll get 3 or 4 testimonials on your presentation of whoever you're talking to, you really don't have to talk. I did a meeting here night before last, a living room party for Natalie. We had about 15 people in the room, but there were like 4 or 5 of those women that had just crazy testimonials with weight loss, with menopause, with feeling better, more energy. So literally I said hello, they told their story, and we closed it out. It was that simple. So the stories, remember, are what get people involved, not the data. And then the last thing is, I do the same presentation, but this is how you get to the big money. The delivery is not always the same. So you have to understand, like, to get to the big money here, you got to understand always who you're talking to and ask questions about that. Are they coming to hear about a box of drops? Are they a skinny drop conversion? Do they have experience in the industry? Are they trying to figure out if they can trust the company? Is that a time issue? Are they a really highly successful businessman or businesswoman outside of this business? Are they broke when they arrived? Is it money issue signing up? Like, all of that data, understanding as much as you can of it going in, helps you dictate the presentation to that personality. And the more you can kind of adjust to who you're talking to, the easier it is to close at the end. I always say the close begins in the beginning, not the end. When I get to the end, I generally can just shut up, and whoever is good at asking for the credit card does that, and they get signed up. But it all started in the beginning, answering their questions and relating to where they were. So that's it in a nutshell for the day, other than I will pause for just a minute in case anybody wants to ask anybody that spoke a question, or anybody wants to add anything in. All you guys are hyper experienced. Anybody? Anything?
Todd, I'd just like to actually make a statement, because hearing the yellow pad of paper and driving the miles. Boy, that reminds me of the good old days. I think someone mentioned Bill Britt on the call, the IPA called this morning, and people have no idea how different this industry is, but just listening to that, it's inspiring, motivating, and just, makes me want to be that much more disciplined in teaching people what they have to do to get this done, because it is all worth it.
Yeah, the Bill Britts, the Dexter Yeagers, the Paul Millers, that whole world of Amway trainers, that a lot of them are passed away now, but all their legacies live on. I was never even in the company, but the trainings they recorded on those tapes were so impactful in my life. So you just never know what you're going to say to people here that are going to be impactful, not only on them, but on future generations to come. We're in the people life-changing business, and all of you here are really good at it. Anybody else? Question or comment? Well, everybody have a super blessed day. And remember, don't ask yourself if you're motivated to go get rich. Ask yourself if you're disciplined enough to go get rich, and start building those habits in every day. Start your day with the IPA and start scheduling those 2-on-1 Zooms, coffee shops, like get them in the schedule the day before. That way, already you got 5 lined up for tomorrow. And if you're a part of 5 exposures a day with a good attitude, and you're not flaky on them the next day, you're going to have a big business one day. It just all comes together. Everybody have a great one. Thank you, Sarah.